Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, September 10th City Council special meeting. Tonight, it's going to be short and sweet, so bear with me. The mayor's out of town, and you got me. So we're going to dispense with everything that we normally do because this is a special meeting. I'm going to go ahead and open public comment. So at this time, if we have anyone who would like to be heard, who would like to address the city at this time, do we have anybody who would like to be heard for non-public hearing items? I'm hearing nobody, so at this time, I'm going to close public hearing, and we'll go on to number 3, public hearings for items that we are going to discuss. Public hearing to receive and hear all persons desiring to be heard on the proposed property tax rate of 0.353210 for 2024. Jennifer Brown. Oh, I'm sorry. Public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak?
I have a brief presentation before the hearing.
Okay. Thank you, Jennifer Brown, Director of Special Projects. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so this evening we're here to hold our mandated public hearing on the proposed tax rate for 2024. Give a little bit of background, and given that there's not really much in the audience, so I'll keep it quick. So everything we're doing is governed based on state law and the tax code. In 2019, we had a change in the legislature by Senate Bill 2. And so we have to use this terminology using the no new revenue tax rate and the voter approval rate. And for anything over the voter approval rate, you have to go to a mandatory election. We are not over the voter approval rate, but we are over the no new revenue rate. So we must hold a public hearing. So that notice has been published. Overview of the roles and responsibilities. So we have basically three-legged stool in this. The CAD is setting the property values. You as the City Council are setting the tax rate, and then we have Fort Bend County is our tax assessor collector. They're going to send out the bills. They are also preparing and certifying all the truth in taxation calculations. As you can see, we continue to have one of the lowest tax rates in the state of Texas. This is the 2023 tax rate, and this is peer cities over 100,000. And we are the dark blue one, by the way, and it's kind of hard to read all those cities. This is a historical chart showing our tax rate since 1993. We were at 50 cents per $100 value, and we had a 1% homestead exemption. Since that time, we have lowered the tax rate. In fiscal year 2008, we raised the homestead exemption to 5%, and we held the tax rate at the bottom, the lowest we've had it was 30 cents. Since that time, we have continued to raise the homestead exemption, but also raised the tax rate to reflect the revenues that we needed to collect from our various GO bond programs. We're currently at 15% homestead exemption that you all voted in tax year 2023. And the proposed tax rate on the graph is the 35,321. We did see about an 8% increase in our net taxable value this year. That is after we deduct out all of our participation in the 3 tax increment reinvestment zones that we have here in the city. You can see it was about 8.5% growth on residential, 6% growth on commercial. Our truth in taxation calculations came out with a no new revenue rate of 34.7218. Our voter approval rate with our unused increment, which is the rate that got published, is 36.3466, which is the one on the bottom. And our proposed rate, we will have to make a motion. Now, when we go to next week, this does not have to happen this evening, but I wanted to show you the language. Because we are over the no new revenue rate, the vote to approve has to be a 60% vote, which is 5 out of 7, opposed to our normal 4 out of 7 for passing. And the motion to approve the tax rate needs to be worded. I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 35321, which is effectively a 1.53% increase in the tax rate. That 1.53% is relative to the no new revenue rate. The allocation of the tax rate, we will be raising the 0.321 cents that we had remaining from the 2019 GO bonds and shifting it to the maintenance and operations component. So our debt rate would be 14.6038, and our maintenance and operations rate would be 20.7172. And so this is the language. This is what was published in our notice that was put in the paper by Fort Bend County on August 28th. And this reflected the results of your record vote on August 20th. In that same, the same notice shows the impact to the average residential tax bill. It doesn't show all of this detail, but it does show that with this tax rate, the average residential tax bill, which is strictly based on the average home value from one year to the next, doesn't reflect individual home value changes, will be about $131 per year or $10.93 a month. So our next steps is to open the public hearing, and at the conclusion of the public hearing, we'll need to announce the date and time for consideration of the tax rate, and that would be voting to adopt the tax rate after the budget is approved next week on September 17th at 5:30 p.m. And with that, I would recommend that you open the public hearing.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. At this time, we will hear all persons who would have a comment for the hearing desiring to be heard on the proposed property tax at this time. Do we have anyone signed up?
No, we do not.
Okay, would anybody like to speak? Okay, at this time, we're going to close the public hearing, and we are going to announce that the 2024 tax rate will be considered by City Council after the adoption of the FY25 budget on September 17, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. at Sugar Land City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Item number 4, ordinances and resolutions. Consideration of an action on the City of Sugar Land Resolution number 2451, a resolution to the City of Sugar Land City Council, City of Sugar Land, Texas, authorizing an interfund loan to supplement debris cleanup invoices while awaiting reimbursement from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, presented by Lauren Ferrer, Interim Director of Budget. Thank you, Lauren.
Yes, thank you. So I'm going to start with a little bit of direction from our financial management policy statement. The policy provides guidance on the use of interfund loans. It states the city may identify short-term financing needs from an enterprise fund balance. Interfund loans do require city council approval in the form of a resolution, and the loan will specify a funding source, the use of the funds, a maximum amount, as well as repayment schedule. It does also dictate discussing with the Finance Audit Committee before City Council can take action on the resolution. We did hold Finance Audit Committee last week and had a good discussion and Q&A session with the committee last week. So in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl, the city activated our emergency debris collection contracts in response to our debris clearing efforts. Based on the contracts for the various residential passes of debris collection, we realized costs of $7.6 million. So then discussions pivoted to funding sources and identifying funding to pay the invoices for the contracts. At that time, we identified the need to find a funding source beyond what the solid waste fund could support. The current available solid waste fund balance could support about $1.3 million. And so that left a need for $6.3 million to cover the remainder of the costs. So the interfund loan this evening is for $6.3 million from the utility fund to our solid waste fund. for the purpose of paying the debris removal contracts resulting from the hurricane. The loan does include a repayment schedule. It does include interest. That's based on the current rate of city investments, and that's based, again, on guidance from our financial management policy statement. So detailing a little bit on the repayment schedule, as I mentioned, the policy statement does provide guidance for interest accrual that's consistent with the city's investment rates at the time of the loan. The solid waste fund will make an interest-only payment during fiscal year 25. The estimated reimbursement, we estimate reimbursement of 75% from FEMA for the hurricane-related expenses, and unreimbursed funds are scheduled to be repaid by the solid waste fund revenues over the course of the repayment schedule. So next steps for the loan, we are here this evening for council action on the resolution. Next week, September 17th, a budget amendment will be brought forward that will formally appropriate the budget related to the interfund loan and capture the appropriations in the event that the year that the event occurred. And that would be followed by bringing forward the contracts, the debris contracts for ratification from the council, 3 contracts totaling the $7.6 million. And then all of this has to be done before we then take action on approving the fiscal year 25 budget adoption. And with that, we would recommend approval of the resolution this evening, 2451, authorizing city manager to borrow up to $6.3 million from the utility fund for the solid waste fund to support debris recovery efforts resulting from the hurricane. And we are happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Lauren. Do we have any questions? Okay.
So I've had several conversations about the debris cleanup, and one of the thoughts I have as you're sharing these numbers with us, $7.6 million is a lot of money from one event, essentially. And I feel like we did a great job as a city to clean everything up. At the end of the day, correct my math if I'm wrong, 75% FEMA, we're going to be 1.9 million-ish, plus or minus. Mm-hmm. So here's my question. Is there a cheaper way to do this? Is it sheerly reactive? Oh, here's a storm, hire these guys? Or I believe it's not. I believe you guys have a plan and you have contracts or... Mm-hmm. So how does this work to get to 7.6 million, if that makes any sense? So everyone will understand, how did we get here to 7.6 million?
So if we're asking how we got to the amount, probably have some folks that can come up, yep, Dawn, and talk to that if it's, so I'll let her answer that question first and see if that answers your question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, so there was multiple questions in there. So each event is different. So we will look at the debris that's produced in that event and then make that determination of, do we let Republic handle it? Do we activate the contract? So it's solely based on what happens in that event. This 7.6 is the total estimated by the contractor. It could come in less, but that's like the worst case is 7.6.
And FEMA potentially would pick up 75%, not 100 and not 10%, but closer to 75.
Correct. We have had events. Ike was the last event that was 100% reimbursed, and then it dropped to 90%, and then now we're at that 75%. So we're trending downward in FEMA reimbursement.
So I want to make sure you know, I'm not questioning the spending. That's not my question here. Yeah. I feel like it was handled very well. I just want people to understand how we get to 7.6 million or 7 million, whatever, and it sounds valid. Now, I think the second part of my question was, how do we choose these contractors? Is it just, okay, we need someone, hire that guy, or is there a bigger plan?
Yes, so we bid out our emergency debris contracts every 3 years as required by FEMA, and there's FEMA requirements in that bidding process. And so we do put those out to bid every 3 years. We will be rebidding them again this year. So that will come out in the next two months. But we have to rebid them. You must have them on an on-call basis in order to activate them.
Perfect. Now, if I may, one more follow-up. So I understand that there are other cities in Fort Bend County that don't have these contracts in place, and they just rely on the county to do that cleanup as well or not as they will. And so we choose not to do that because we want to be a little more deliberate. Is that correct?
In the past, we chose to have our own contract to collect debris at a quicker pace. I think because of the magnitude of storms that we're having and the consistency, we may need to revisit, do we still want to continue to provide this level of service, or do we want to partner with the county again, or what are the other alternatives that are out there? So that's something we will be looking at over the next few months, is what is our plan of action going forward?
I, for one, love how you handle it. I don't know if everyone understands there's a bigger plan here. That's all. Thank you. No follow-up.
Thank you, William. Anyone else? Nishad?
The fund that we're borrowing from, Lauren, utility fund?
Yes.
Balance, obviously, I assume we have enough money in there, but what's the balance after we do the borrow?
After the loan is close to 30 million, maybe a little less than 30 million.
Okay. And, thank you. And the reimbursement takes how long from FEMA? I know we're dealing with FEMA, but approximately?
Yeah, it's 18 months, and so that's what we're going on. So we have to continue to submit all of the contracts for reimbursement, and that's ongoing right now. We've already started that, and so that will continue as we pay them.
And I think Dawn mentioned you had filed in the past, and it was 90% and 100%. Are we seeing those funds come in from back when, or Jennifer is nodding her head yes in the back? Yeah. Just want to make sure that we have some accountability, which I know you do, but I want to make sure that
we have been fully reimbursed from all previous storms.
Very good. No more questions.
Thank you. Anyone else? Stuart, sorry.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. We got a motion by Stuart Jacobson. We got a second by Nishad. Can we take a vote, please? Thank you. The motion carries 6-0. Thank you, Carol. Motion to adjourn. We're going to adjourn now. Thank you very much for joining us.